Brexit promised to deliver global Britain, and for farming, huge promises were made, particularly by George Eustace and Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson went to a livestock market and made, untold promises about how fantastic it would be for farmers if they voted Brexit.
No, so the gentleman asked the question, is there going to be a repeat of two major wars? Absolutely not. The crucial thing is we will be able to do it, and you will be able to hold us to account if we don't. Subsidies, thank you. We, as I just said, we would guarantee 100% that we would want to support farming in the way that it is currently supported and make sure that the rural economy is properly looked after. It's a no-brainer for this country. It's a massive, massive, important part of our lives, of our culture, and of the British way of life. Any government is going to want to support the rural economy in the way that it is. But to repeat my point, you could repeal regulation and you could make sure that you'd have extra money to spend.
And I know a lot of people are angry with farmers that were sucked into that. But you must remember that, people took things at face value and they believed the lies. Anyway, when you look at what was promised and you look at what's been delivered, and you also examine what those of us who didn't fall for the promises and the lies actually said would happen, that when you look at what we've got, even the scaremongering, supposedly that it was, has not been scary enough. But I just want to focus on this one thing that we've ended up with, which is really aggravating for British food producers. We have now got a label on British food, which is going to be commonplace by the end of the year, which says not for EU. So British food has gone from, being proud and having its red tractor label to now having a label which looks like it's got leprosy or some sort of disease because it says not for EU. And the irony is that European imports are going to come into Britain and not have this label. And many people are not going to recognise or understand what not for EU means, and are probably going to buy the label that doesn't have that nasty sign on there saying not for EU, and they're going to choose the European imports. And this is hardly a great thing for Britain going global, is it? That we've ended up with a sticker that says that our food is banished from going to the European Union, which is the biggest free market in the world. It's also the market where 90% of our food exports go to. And we've got a horrible label in our own marketplace. And we ended up with this because of Northern Ireland wanting to have as frictionless trade as possible, because Boris Johnson promised them that there wouldn't be any barriers to trade between us and Northern Ireland and us and the European Union. And he lied. I mean, he just lied his face off.
Make it absolutely clear that under no circumstances, whatever happens, will I allow the EU or anyone else to create any kind of division down the Irish Sea or to attend.
And people voted for him in 2019, gave him that majority. He took us out of the EU and the single market and the customs union, despite the fact that the devolved nations actually did not back his deal. And it's just maddening to think that we have ended up in this place and what it actually means for us, for our food, our public health, our food security, and all of these things. For me, it's a very uncomfortable place to be living here with a label saying this in our country. And I would like to be able to get rid of this label. And the only way that we can get rid of this label is by agreeing to get rid of the trade barriers and to get exit from Brexit. It'll take step by step by step, but we need to exit Brexit. And the other thing that has happened this week is the Telegraph have written the most honest appraisal of Brexit. I'm going to put a link down below for you to read. It is incredible. I never thought that I would read such a thing in the Telegraph, which actually backed Brexit and has been defending Brexit for the last 8 years. But they've come through and they've done a piece-by-piece account of why Brexit is such a disaster and why it could never, ever have worked. And that's absolutely right, you know. There's many things why it couldn't have worked, but the main reason why it couldn't have worked, or the most obvious reason it couldn't have worked, brings us back to the not for EU label, which was Northern Ireland. You know, we have the Good Friday Agreement. There was no way that we could deliver the mad Brexit of coming out of the single market and the customs union because of Northern Ireland. And that was so simple to work out right from the word go. But here we are, all these years later, in such a mess. Our economy in the bin, especially made even worse because of Liz Truss, who has humiliated this country, and even the Telegraph actually went as far as saying that. We really have to stop procrastinating, because every month that we go forward with Brexit, things are going to get worse. As I said, that not for EU label is going to be rolled out by the end of the year. And we really need to start getting rid of that beforehand. We've got an election either this spring or it could come in the autumn. It's certainly going to come this year. And we need to do all we can. And we're working right now on a new petition, which we will be launching. And I hope that you will be getting behind and backing that. And we're going to be ramping up our campaign to put pressure on Westminster to focus on British food, British farming and the countryside. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below. Let us know what you think.